been hearing this revolutionary talk all my life. All my life.
Welcome to Blazed Weekly News. It's going to be podcast 232 this week on the podcast. I'm Russell Dowden, publisher and editor for Blazed Magazine and Blazed Weekly News. Welcome to Blazed Weekly News. This is podcast 232 this week. Reminding you to fight the power. That's right. Thanks to our friends at Brownout. Austin, Texas' own Brownout, Fight the Power, a Public Enemy classic musical. So we bring in the tunes this week. Good morning, everyone. They're listening on ESPN 1027 Austin, our flagship station, now back on the airwaves with our friends at Waterloo Media and ESPN here in Austin, Texas. As our Longhorns are 2-1 this week, hopefully 3-1 Saturday as they make another run here and keep this thing going for our Longhorn faithful. News on the front of our beverage challenge. All of the beverages are here. And I know some of them are going around here on the spinner. I don't think Carl's got that shot up for those to see, but the drinks are in and our judges are getting all of the beverages for the Texas THC Challenge Beverage Edition this weekend. I'm getting those out to everybody on Friday and Saturday. We'll have the winners of all of these with our judges' scorecards. That all stuff comes all in by the 1st of October, and we'll have those announcements in the October issue. Here's some of the drinks. Thank you, Carl. As these are spinning around, but all of our beverages are in, and we've received, any ranging from 5 milligrams to 2.5 milligram THC. We've got some beverages from the 25 milligram with Looper. There's a 5 milligram one from Happy. As these come around, this one's 100 milligrams with Trippy Tea. Our friends at Dama Botanicals, Brio, 25 milligrams with a couple of submissions that they have. There's another lemonade that came in, 100 milligrams. So we will be tasting these beverages again. White Purp's got a beverage there, 25 milligrams. So we're going to be tasting these over the next couple of weeks here at the Blazed Magazine crew, and we'll be giving those ratings on presentation, flavor, and of course efficacy, and how effective they are with the THC that they are carrying. So that'll be exciting. We'll get those announcements to you guys out there. Also, another big announcement before we bring our guests in. We're cooking up our first annual Blazed Fest. Will be coming up in October on the 25th. It's a Saturday, and we're solidifying the venue on that. It looks like it may be downtown Austin. I've got a venue that we're confirming here within the hour or by tomorrow. So next week's show we'll have that. But Blazed Fest, we're looking at amplified heat, live music with amplified heat. Our friends over at Dub Eckies, as well as Micah Shalom, the reggae artist. So we're going to start with some reggae. We'll have some DJ dub mix hip hop with Dub Eckies and finish things off with some rock and roll with amplified heat. That's the Blazed Fest. So what happens when you mix cannabis, culture, 420, Halloween, and the harvest season all together? Well, you get Blazed Fest from our team and family here at Blaze Magazine. So we're looking forward to bringing that. You'll learn more about that. It's kind of our Halloween party. We're going to look forward to doing that finally this year. For more news on that, visit blazednews.com/blazedfest. All right, let's enough selling. Let's let's go to our guests here and bring in this week joining us on the program for policy discussion on the national hemp outlook for this year and next year is our friend Kerry Hinkle, formerly with the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, now with our friends in Houston at the Bayou City Hemp Company. And then also joining us on the discussion this week is senior political editor for blazenews.com, Jay Maguire, and co-founder of Craft. And I believe it's Craft is Cannabis Retailers Alliance for Texas, I think. Welcome to the
correct, sir.
Welcome to the program. That's a mouthful, Jay, but I think I got it right. Cannabis Retailers Alliance for Texas. And welcome both. There you are, Carrie. How are you, man? It's good to see you back here on the show. We've had you on twice before, but welcome to Texas officially, I guess, now that you're working over there with Jeremy and that crew over there at Bayou City Hemp. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. I'm doing well. It was funny that Jeremy hired me in, and then a couple of weeks in, we faced the ban, and I really got thrown into the fire that is Texas policy and all things hemp. So it was not a smooth, easy, slow-going onboarding. It was immediately, let's get thrown in and fight like hell to save our industry. So,
well, tell him I said hi. In fact, they are very lucky to have you. I've known you a few years now that we've had you on our show, and
sure.
We knew that you were going to be popular once this legislative thing got into session here in Texas. But hearing that you were over there with them earlier in the year was good news for them, and good to hear that you're stepping up the fight, not just nationally, but even here at home in the Lone Star State. So you getting to know Jay a little. This is the first time you guys have had the pleasure of talking, but Jay, no stranger to the halls of the Texas legislature, as this session was his 17th session there at the state capitol. Welcome, Jay Maguire, to the show. How are you, my friend?
Great to see you, of course. Kerry, good to meet you over video.
We'll make sure to connect after this.
For sure.
Man, absolutely. And say hi to the fans and the friends and family down there in Houston. We'd love to come down there and catch an Astros game in the postseason if that were just possible. I don't know if that's going to happen this fall baseball season, but that would be great. Let's talk a little cannabis hemp here in the Lone Star State, and then kind of maybe kick it around, Carrie, on the national thing. Where would you like to start, Jay? Let's go with you, Jay, and start on maybe some of the local stuff happening in Texas. We've got these, the governor obviously couldn't get to any formal ground with our lieutenant governors, senior members of the Senate, and so House members. Nothing ever happened there. We didn't have a veto in the special sessions, but there's an executive order, which is, I believe, GA 56. So tell us a little bit of what that does, just for folks. We haven't really covered that issue in the last week or two since we were off last week, Jay, attending the Champs trade shows in Austin. So we didn't do a show last week on Thursday because we were busy. So all this broke last week. So to give us a little bit on that and what it means for dishes and TABC and what do folks need to kind of be aware on that, and then we'll go to Carrie on some of this as well.
So Governor Abbott issued this executive order, as a response to the legislative inaction on the items that he listed in the document that created the special sessions, both of them, which is referred to as the call. They're called sessions. The agenda is referred to as the call. Just note the legislature cannot consider any other items during a called session other than the things the governor designates. And he was very clear that he wanted to see legislation regulating aspects of this industry, from everything from youth access to the amount of THC and the kinds of THC permitted in each product, et cetera. And they didn't. So if you look at things like age gating, we've had it for nicotine vape, I think happened in 2021 or 2023. A little confused about the date there. But when I was working with the Vapor Technology Association, Tony Abboud's group, we proposed a bill from our legislative committee requiring shops to, card people and make sure they don't sell to people under 21. It was incredibly controversial. at 11:30 at night in the middle of the licensing and regulation committee hearing when there's a thunderstorm going on, and I got it in the neck from all of the people from Iron Industry. So Kerry, I feel your pain, buddy. This bill, this GA56, the governor's executive order, doesn't do some of the things that people think it jumps to. There is a process in place before the agencies can begin actually promulgating the rules, and that is a review of their statutory authority and the existing rules that they have, how those rules have been enforced and how it's gone. That process, I believe, and this is based on Maguire, not a lawyer, but maybe better than one because we make law and they only practice it, those of us who worked in the Capitol. The EO basically wants dishes and TABC to ban sales to minors, require ID scanning, review testing rules, and study different enforcement strategies. That sets the priorities. The agencies have to decide based on they all have general counsel's offices, whether or not the existing law permits them to do those things, because an executive order cannot go beyond what a statute gives the governor or the executive power to do.
Right.
Legally. Let's maybe look at it politically a little bit different. Governor Abbott is a lawyer's lawyer. He was a justice on the Supreme Court. He was attorney general. I've talked to him several times, and he sounds like every lawyer I know and have worked with for many years. He is a constitutional, what you call it, originalist, and definitely does not believe in reading beyond the text or interpreting things into statutes that weren't put there by the legislature.
Carrie, how much of this are you following on the state level as well? I know Jeremy's group probably brought you in more on the national policy, but you're following all of this as well, no doubt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was priority number one was to save our own state,
right,
to start with. We lose our home state, we lose our company. So no, this was 10 out of 10 worrisome, especially when the SB3 was on the governor's desk. And so I think Jay was providing an excellent breakdown of what the EO can and can't do.
Yeah.
It is kind of now I hate to say this for a radio show, but it's the boring part of the process now, right? It is now rulemaking and public comment and lawyers looking at text, as Jay was mentioning. And so now we're going to see exactly what can and can't do. And as Jay was mentioning, we're going to start to look at this politically as well, because the governor's office knows he may get sued, and to what degree he gets sued is something we'll have to
stay right there, Kerry, because now we come to the boring part where I go to commercial here on my radio affiliate. So we're going to go to commercial break. We'll wrap and go back with our second segment. Again, our guest, policy discussion here, kind of with some of the rulemaking powers Governor Abbott, executive order GA56. We're discussing that, and we'll get with Kerry and his view on what's going on here with Washington. Some announcements made there, little faith shaking in the industry federally with Ryan Paul's comments recently today. And so we'll talk a little more policy on all things hemp here in the Lone Star State and federally here with our friends, both Jay Maguire and Kerry Hinkle on Podcast 232. Blazed Weekly News will continue on the other side. Be right back. ESPN 102.7 Austin.
THC Beverages. We're on a mission to bring plant medicine to the people. Accessible, functional, and undeniably delicious. Built for balance, our beverages blend bold flavor with feel-good ingredients that support your body, mind, and mood. competing in the Texas THC Challenge this year. You'll want to try our happy flavors like Sublime, Grateful Grape, Cherry Cherry, and Groovy Grapefruit. Our fast-acting THC and CBD blends for a perfect balance with no alcohol, no hangover, and no regrets. THC and mushroom beverages that hit just right. Plant-powered happiness in every sip for a full-body feel-good. Happy THC, all natural, wellness-focused ingredients, flavor-first experience in every sip. Now available in Texas. Visit us online at drinkhappy.com. That's drink, HAPPIE.com. Feel good about feeling good. drinkhappy.com. Texas retailers, are you ready to save? Lambeau Wholesale in Houston is your one-stop shop for stock and smoke shops across the Lone Star State. We carry the products your customers ask for most. Legal THC flower, gummies, beverages, and gift items, plus a lineup of top brands like Ocho X's Exotics, Underdogs, Polka Puff, Lazy Susan, Wild Jungle, Day Tripper, Mellow Chills, and Dope Daiquiris. With thousands of items and bulk pricing, we keep your shelves full and your margins strong. Whether you run a neighborhood smoke shop or multiple locations across Texas, Lambeau Wholesale delivers the variety, value, and service you need. Visit us in Houston off Harwood or shop online today at LambeauWholesale.com. That's LambeauWholesale.com. Lambeau Wholesale, where Texas retailers save big time.
Blaze Weekly News, podcast 232 returns here as we continue our policy discussion on hemp and THC products here in the Lone Star State. We kind of got out of that last session there with a bunch of scrapes and bruises, but nothing serious. Our seatbelt was on for sure on that roller coaster. We had a very crazy SB3 first session and went on to some secondary sessions there. Crazy run this summer, but just recapping our Champs magazine that's available around Central Texas and San Antonio with our coverage of the Champs trade show. We have a little B-roll. We were there last week and covered some of this. Was out there visiting some of the vendors. Here's a little bit of our fit footage from covering Champs trade shows last week. Was going on here in Austin from, I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week. We were there on Tuesday and Thursday ourselves, and this was a little bit of some of that B-roll that we were able to capture down there and taking a look at our industry there, with booths and brands. And, this is our legal hemp and that, that whole Champs trade show. A lot of fun there last week. You guys probably aware of that. Jay, did you make it down there to the trade show?
Absolutely did, Russell. And I saw you across the room, but couldn't quite get to you.
Well, we made it on Tuesday and Thursday and held off. I was a little recovering from a cold, so I took Wednesday off and came back on Thursday. And then, heck, we just all did Colton Luther's podcast. My producer Carl and Rachel and I went out to East Austin and did the Growers podcast last Thursday as well. So long crazy week, but we're back here in the saddle, and that was part of the Texas Growers podcast. We're looking forward to that episode coming out. We'll be on that episode here probably this weekend, I would reckon. So looking forward to seeing that. But anyway, welcome back, and thank you patiently waiting. Kerry Hinkle with Bayou City Hemp and Jay Maguire with the Cannabis Retailers Alliance for Texans, also here joining us as we talk a little policy. Again, GA56, what's the bottom line? Jay, your audio cut out before and I went to Carrie. Let me go right back to Carrie as he mentioned this is kind of the boring part of the whole legal process as the rules begin to get figured out. I understand, Carrie. And the boring part in my industry is we call commercial break.
Well, you nailed going to the last one, but yes. So I'd love to get Jay's take on this as well. But I think as we go through this, the political ramifications here will be interesting as we understand. During COVID, for example, Governor Abbott issued a lot of executive orders and some challenged, right? Mm-hmm. And so depending on how far down the rulemaking process TABC and dishes goes to eliminating some products like possibly hemp flower. Given the directive of a total THC standard. We've seen other states like Tennessee, Kentucky, and maybe 10 others, as well as some USDA standards that are aimed at total THC. Oklahoma is another state right next to Texas that has a total THC. And so if you do this testing method, does that then impact the availability of hemp flower? Yet to be known as the rulemaking process plays out. But
right.
If it does, now lawsuits will be coming further down. Whereas if they leave it alone, maybe they don't have as much legal ramifications here. So it's also, important to understand how this process is going to play out with the agencies, but also what they come up with will then depend on how much litigation they face from industry. As if you come after a product, of course, lawsuits are to follow. But of course, welcome Jay's
Yeah, Jay, will we see? Let's go to Jay Maguire on this because Jay, if we get. Let's face it, the elephant in the room that my viewers and listeners want to hear, or the concern is, where does this affect, part of the flower as the industry is, doing well there. That's where a lot of this revenue generates from, is the flower side of the market. Jay, would we see another lawsuit for an attempt at another type of an injunction with some of these rulemaking changes that agencies might make? Is that a fair guesstimation, or what are we? I'm just going off of what I remember in 2020.
It's not a guess, Russell. It's not a guess. It's happening.
Well, we recall to recap 2020 and 21. You were involved in that Sky marketing case specifically. So, what can we expect? Will these industry members, file case with these new potential rules?
Things have gotten a little bit complicated in terms of the lawsuits. Sky Marketing versus Hellerstedt, which is how it was originally styled, is the lawsuit that overturned the attempted ban by dishes of Delta 8. And it was all really about the government, open government code. You can't really, make a rulemaking if you don't post things properly,
right,
etc. I was very heavily involved in that. What's happening now is that the industry's grown. We have different advocacy organizations. They have differing priorities and demands on their treasuries. And so I understand that HBC, the Hemp Business Council, has decided not to fund the lawsuit challenging the ban on hemp vape. The nicotine vape part of the industry has been covered by the Vapor Technology Association, but hemp vape has not yet been challenged. And there is a group of different companies trying to pool their funds to accomplish that. And this is not because the Hemp Business Council is not in it for nicotine vape along with everything else. It's just that the challenges are, we're going to lose all of it. And so you have to triage, I think. Therefore, we're going to see multiple lawsuits, I think, in multiple tracks. It might get a little confusing, but never fear, we will disambiguate it with our usual alacrity. The lawsuit against any of these rules will probably start with, you didn't have the statutory authority to do this. Right. It will cause immediate irreparable harm. Your Honor, please enjoin. A plain reading of the statute of the Constitution and laws of the state is plain reading. It is not 21, and it is not total THC. It is 0.3 delta 9 THC in the statute. Can't go beyond it.
Happy birthday, Jay. There.
Thank you.
No, Carrie, that's you guys aren't on the flower side of the business at all anymore. I think BioCity's the direction for y'all is clearly beverage, but where do you guys fit on all of that? And is that even are you guys even threatened at all by any of that part? It's not really part of the model for you guys, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not. We're primarily a manufacturer of low-dose edibles and beverages. A lot of our products are sold in Specs, Total Wine, and we're in some movie theaters, et cetera. Of course, we have our own tap room. So we're distributed in 15 states. So Texas is obviously home and number one, but we have business interests across the country. So, we understood during the legislative process that there was going to be winners and losers, especially when you were facing a full outright ban like what Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was pushing forward. So we don't know still to this day if flower will be targeted. But when you mentioned in the EO that it says total THC, I think everyone in the industry kind of raised their eyebrows. It's like, yep, that's one way that you can try and go after this category. So now it's going to take a lot of enforcement dollars and a lot of legal fees to ensure that they can attack those products. But the legal ambiguity, I guess, specific to those flower products continues. Whereas maybe something like what Bayou City sells may be a little bit more safe, just given what was directive on the EO.
And Carrie, to speak to the beverage side, the things that you guys on the beverage side were concerned is, were they going to cap THC at what levels? I mentioned earlier here in our drink challenge, we've got this is our third annual beverage challenge that we've done over here over the last 3 years. And, this year, there's 25 milligram, 5 milligram, 2.5 milligram, 50 milligram, 100 milligrams. So there's all these different, beverages with different varying THC levels. But they, was there concern for you guys at all that they might cap this at 5 or 10? What do you guys fight for on the beverage side? Just to give you this platform to let you speak to that, because I know that other of my clients in beverage, I have many clients that are in beverage, and what was the magic number that the concession that Bayou City Hemp with their team, and you guys, where's the fine line there for regulating the beverage side, Carrie? I'm sure there's a number that's a sweet spot that you guys would like to see.
The per serving, I think, is what's important here. We sell 750 ml large format bottles at our tap room, and in some restaurants and movie theaters, we have kegs. So, at a keg has thousands of milligrams of THC in it, but you're getting served a 5 or 10 milligram beverage. And so those were some of the numbers that were floated out in the legislature as a per serving requirement. Right. Now, I do want to, yes, that was our concern. And are we capped at 10 or 5 or 20? Like that it was legitimately things that we were working through as a company with our lobby team in Austin. But I don't want to sell short that we had a full outright existential ban on everything. So, we had advocates like Charlotte's Web and Paige Figi, and that wanted a 1 milligram of THC serving, similar to the Virginia model, all the way up to folks that want that 100 milligrams in a 12-ounce can, like what is on your desk now. So during that veto campaign, I really did see the entire industry come together on every aspect. Industrial farmers understanding that problem as well. So that veto campaign was great to see the industry come together. And then it was a little unfortunate, I think, to see as the special sessions rolled out that each company went back into their own corners and fought it out. So, but thankfully we got the EO for the most part. Most products are going to be safe now, including the products that we sell.
Stay right there. We'll come back. We'll talk with Jay Maguire, get some more thoughts on these rulemaking powers. And then we'll talk a little on the Senator Rand Paul, the Kentucky senator, made some comments of concern on some of the movement that's happening with cannabis on the federal level. We'll maybe get your take on that, Carrie. But great discussions. Great to see both of you in here, and great to introduce the two of you, two fabulous authoritative figures that know this policy as well, both federally and statewide, locally here. Kerry Hinkle, Bayou City Hemp, and our friend Jay Maguire with Craft, and that is Cannabis Retailers Alliance for Texas. We'll be back. ESPN 1027 Austin, Blaze Weekly News.
Hard to see what I should do. The places I once hid, the thoughts that I could trust. Right now they're really few. Oh, they're coming for me. Oh, they're coming for me.
Dharma Botanicals is proud to support the Texas cannabis industry and the work of Blaze Magazine and the Blaze Weekly News Podcast. Dama Botanicals is on a mission to advocate for the education of our community and the destigmatization of cannabis and hemp. We do that by providing high-quality products and services to Austin, Texas, and surrounding areas. Local, loud with Austin roots. Visit DamaBotanicals.com now and use promo code STOCKYOURSTASH and save 20% off your entire order. Hemp is legal for now in Texas, so come on by our store at 1311 South 1st Street in Austin or visit DamaBotanicals.com. Community-driven brands like Dama Botanicals are here until the wheels fall off. Stay informed, stay positive, stay blazed. DamaBotanicals.com. That's DamaBotanicals.com.
Welcome back to Blazed Weekly News here on ESPN 102.7 Austin. Good morning, Austin, Texas. As you get ready for some football later today, we'll let you guys get to that here after we talk our little hemp and policy show every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. here in Austin, Texas. We're grateful to be on the airwaves with our friends there at ESPN. Always, we're looking for a couple of more sponsors on this morning show here with ESPN 102.7 Austin. If you're interested, send me an email, blazed@blazenews.com for more information on that. But happy to be back on the airwaves here on Austin Terrestrial Radio. We're probably the only podcast in the state, if not I don't know. We're lucky to still buy airtime on the radio. I like to do that because I've been in radio for many, many years. And so we like to have that partner on the airwaves. Let's get back to our conversation, though. Again, podcast 232, as we continue to toss the political football around with Jay Maguire and Kerry Hinkle. Kerry, concerns were going around. I was watching my colleagues over at High at 9 News. Stone Slade reports over there on Thursdays. Stone has an article on my website that we posted last night. Texas hemp shops raided on junk science. Judge refuses to step in. There was some raids going on. But during his show, Jason and the High at 9 News crew, they were mentioning that Kentucky Senator Rand Paul was making alarming concerns about the national level for hemp products. Can you break and unravel that? I was working on some proposals for advertisers early in the day, but that was going on in the background, and I only caught snippets of it as I was working. But what's going on with Rand Paul and the infamous Kentucky senator?
Sure, yeah, and it is quite complicated. And as you know, I used to work for the Hemp Roundtable. They just put out a primer that really explains everything that's going on. So I encourage you to check out their primer because It is really in the weeds of the political process. And so what happened in July was Senator McConnell has now attempted to ban hemp products via the Senate Agriculture Appropriations Bill. Rand Paul laid down himself on the tracks and said, we will not let this Senate bill go forward without stripping the hemp provision from that bill. So this entire funding package was going to be held up in July over this issue of hemp. That same language is still in the House version. And so what's happening now is at the end of the month, we expect a CR or a continuing resolution to keep government up and running and funding. Or, of course, I mean, we might face another government shutdown, because when aren't we facing a government shutdown? But in this package of the CR, there is also something called the minibus. And there's going to be 3 bills that will be added to this minibus. And one of them is this House Agriculture Appropriations Bill. When you go to a minibus, you have a conference committee where leaders from both House and Senate get together, hash out differences, and pass a bill. If the House continues to have that hemp ban language in there, we are going to get to conference committee with Mitch McConnell in there. And then on the House side, Andy Harris from Maryland, who is championing the hemp ban language on the House side. They will be in a room together with a few other conferees from both Senate and House, and they will fight like hell to keep that hemp ban language in there. And so what we are trying to do as an industry now is strip the hemp ban language from the House side, similar to what we did on the Senate side in July. We want to strip it from the House before it makes it to the conference. And one way we're doing that is by Jamie Comer, a congressman from Kentucky, is leading a letter that has 15 other House members signed on, including Vesey and Garcia from Texas have signed on to that letter. And so they are looking to help us ensure that when this conference committee happens, that McConnell and Harris cannot work behind the scenes to eliminate the industry. And Rand Paul is our biggest champion. And the problem is he's not on this conference committee. And so he's alerting advocates like folks that listen to your show to contact their member of Congress, ask them to add their name to Jamie Comer's hemp letter. And by doing that, we can then bring this letter to Speaker Johnson and say, look, we've got 50 members of the House that don't want to ban hemp. This is very controversial. This should not be added in the minibus. And as you can see right there on your screen, stop hemp killing language in Congress. That's a very easy way for you to contact your member of Congress in a matter of seconds and ask them to not allow that language to continue in the bill. Again, there's some more details that I tried to leave out because it's really into the weeds of it all, but it's really tricky and convoluted. And the last thing I'll add is that McConnell for 40 years has been a champion at navigating the political process. And in his last year, as he heads out of office, this is one of his priorities, and he's going to use every political maneuver he knows to use to get this across the finish line. And we as an industry have to fight like we did in Texas nationally to ensure that doesn't happen.
Why can't we just push him down the stairs?
I don't think that's the way things are done.
Just push McConnell down the stairs.
Yeah.
He's good. He tripped on his own shoelaces. No, but so the idea is to contact your representatives in Congress and add them and have them tie on to Jamie Comer's bill from Kentucky. Rand Paul from Kentucky, the senator, but not on that committee.
Yes, and he did everything he could do in July to stop it from the Senate side. If it wasn't for Rand Paul, we would have that hemp ban language in both Senate and House. And what's interesting when you go to a conference committee, right, the idea is that let's hash out the differences on why Senate and House couldn't agree, and let's come up with something that is passable, and we'll move along, right? And so if it would have been in both chambers, it would have been deemed not controversial, therefore easily added to the minibus and easily passed. But thankfully, because it's in one and not the other, there can still be an argument to be made that it's controversial. And the definition of a CR is that you just want to keep things that are mandatory in there and continue moving. And so there's still some language and effort that can be had if we get to the conference committee and we can work on folks like John Carter, who is from Texas, who's going to be on that committee. And we can ask those folks to prevent that language from moving forward. But before we get to that step, it would be a lot nicer if we got to that conference committee and neither House or Senate had the hemp ban language in there.
Yeah, and who is it that what's the lawmaker's name that's to meet with McConnell?
Andy Harris from Maryland.
And so the Maryland representative, we want to keep them out of the room together.
Yes,
is the idea.
They're going to be in that room, and they have sat down and are 100% in on this ban. And Rand Paul yesterday in an interview said that he has been working on Harris and McConnell, and that they're just talking at each other. and not really working together. They're very much dug in their position. And so we have alternatives to propose of regulatory bills and discussion drafts. And we think there's a better solution than the free market of just anything goes. You can sell thousands of milligrams of Oreo Skittles to kids. Like, we think there's something at the federal level that can be done. And we're working with Congressman Morgan Griffith from Virginia on a regulatory bill. But in the meantime, before that bill can get introduced and go through proper order, we need to prevent the outright ban and then allow, hopefully, proper jurisdiction and proper regulatory channels to be propped up. And the last thing I'll add is, when I was in D.C. 2 weeks ago, I could not believe how many folks, both on the staff side and the member side,
I'm going to talk about that
we
next.
heard about Governor Abbott's executive order and heard about what's going on in Texas. And so that phrase of "so goes Texas, goes the nation" was really receptive when I was in D.C., specific to our issue. And so Governor Abbott's executive order has really helped elevate this topic to the national level. Mm-hmm. And again, are hopeful and kind of very similar of like, don't ban us, please regulate us. That same messaging that we saw stateside, we're now seeing nationally.
Well, that's good. That is good for the federal and the national level that we're seeing. You're right that as goes Texas, goes the nation, and so that is been a very positive thing for the national scene. So you get all that, boys and girls. Kerry Hinkle breaking it down for us, but that's why you're such a grab for Jeremy and those guys over at Bayou City Hemp. I love having you on the show, especially when we go when there's activity going on in Washington. Jay Maguire back. I think we had him in here for a little. His audio video was coming and going, but my producer Carl was wanting to ask, where are we at? Just on federal rescheduling or on the cannabis, the marijuana side with the DEA. Have you heard anything on that? I think there's a hearing coming up or a deadline for that later this fall, isn't there?
So rescheduling. I hate to be pessimistic on it, but it's just one of those stories. I've been in this industry now for 6 or 7 years, and if you follow Twitter and some of the Twitter bots on that platform or X, I should say, they're every day like, oh, is today the day it's going to happen? Is today the day it's going to happen? And so, I'm hopeful that the process continues to play out. Schedule 3 is definitely a step in the right direction. Some in the highest levels of the White House are just very anti-drug and skeptical towards the entire process. Just today, there was a hearing in the Homeland Security Committee, and I forget the gentleman's name, but he was a representative for the Trump administration, and he was asked point blank by Representative Carter from Georgia, is it your position that all marijuana should be illegal? And he said yes. And so, those folks within the industry, within the administration, some of them are still outright prohibitionists. And so, as you show that clip where Trump, mentions he's, contemplating rescheduling, and we're going to look at that in a few weeks. I think that's been a month now. When we were under Biden, we kept hearing things every month. Something's going to happen. SAFE is finally going to happen. And so,
we've
got hemp, and so that's what we got to deal with.
At least we've got that. But the two big. One of the big internet things is, yes, the two hot ones are, when are we going to reschedule that marijuana to Schedule 3? It's very popular, like you said, on trending on X and on social platforms. And then the other one, of course, is 3i Atlas. Is it a spaceship or a comet? Is it slowing down? That one's getting more attention than the whole rescheduling of cannabis is, I'm afraid. No, we'll see how that improves or changes. Let's go to another break here. We'll come back with our final segment, and I wanted to see what you guys are kind of on that alcohol side, but I was curious because we want to talk about how sometimes the alcohol and big pharma side of the industry gets, attacks hemp in the hemp space. And so we'll talk about that, big pharma, and then we'll talk about what's going on with Bayou City Hemp moving forward in the space throughout 2025, and how busy Jeremy's going to keep Carrie going this fall and next year as well. So stick around after this. We'll be right back. We'll come back. We'll try to get Jay Maguire back in and get his final thoughts. Blazed Weekly News. This is podcast 232. We'll be right back. ESPN 102.7 Austin.
Feel the thunder, lightning and the thunder, feel the thunder. lightning and the thunder, thunder, thunder. Kids were laughing in my classes while I was scheming for the masses. Who do you think you are? Dreaming about being a big star.
Sergi & Associates specialize in cannabis and hemp law cases here in Texas. Has your store been raided? Do you require municipal litigation? Seeking to trademark your brand? David Sergi is an international cannabis lawyer, and he represents businesses throughout the cannabis industry. Sergi represents clients across the United States and is regularly quoted on cannabis matters in the media. The new website from his team is txhemplaw.com. If you're new to the Texas market and hemp or cannabis industry, look no further than Sergi & Associates. Their legal team offers a broad range of legal practices, providing cost-effective, top-shelf legal representation with a big firm punch in a personal, small firm environment, specializing in hemp, criminal, business structure law, and civil litigation. Texas hemp laws are always evolving. Call Sergi & Associates at 512-392-5010. That's 512-392-5010. Or visit txhemplaw.com.
Blazed Weekly News and Blazed Magazine are seeking sponsors for the show. Profile your store or brands on the podcast and receive a magazine article, display ad, and guest appearance on the show. Also includes an email blast, your logo on ESPN's landing page, and banner ads on our websites, TexasHempReporter.com and BlazedNews.com. For over 5 years, Blazed Weekly News has been heard on podcast platforms, YouTube, and ESPN Austin Saturday mornings. As we follow the legislative battle for hemp products in Texas, Blazed will continue to track developments with policy and regulatory news as it breaks. Stand up for your right to consume consumable hemp products in Texas. Support the oldest running podcast and magazine covering the hemp industry. Right now, receive free banner ads on our websites when you sponsor the show. Just email our sales team at blazenews@gmail.com. That's blazed, NEWZ @gmail.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to Blaze Weekly News, ESPN 1027 Austin. Good morning, folks. There, we're getting some football programming to you guys later this morning, and thank you everybody for tuning in. If you'd like to comment on the show or leave a question on your thoughts on policy here, we'd love to have some engagement with you guys watching and viewing on what you think where things stand in Texas. I think it's a huge victory that we got out of this thing with some age-gating measures in place, and we'll see where the rule-making power process goes with the state agencies. And I'm grateful to have Kerry Hinkle back on the show with us this week. We haven't had him on for some time, but this has been a busy year for him. And I got to say, man, it's great to have you on breaking some of this down for us, especially on that federal level. I didn't know about the minibus.
Yeah, and you know, I have been eloquating on hemp policy now for 5 or 6 years, and this one was still even hard for me to wrap my head around on exactly how this process is going to play out, what bills and vehicles are going to end up in that. You know, there's omnibus, minibus, and larger packages, and I think a school bus is somehow involved. No, but yeah, quite complicated, but very important given the existential threat that we're facing as an industry.
Jay Maguire, I wanted to let you just come in with another thought. Can Governor Abbott make any new laws on an executive order? Because we discussed that earlier, and your audio went out, and you were addressing GA 56 earlier in the program. But was wondering, is there any other new lawmaking powers that he can execute or execute? And then I'll have Carl show or bring up the joincraft.org website as you discuss this with us.
Thank you very much, Russell. No, the governor cannot create new laws. And so if you look at it the way that I read the statute, age gating doesn't exist. You would have to create a new law. Total THC does not exist. You'd have to create a new law and undo House Bill 1325, the 0.3% Delta 9. Therefore, the political ramifications of this could be that Governor Abbott knows this and is going to do it anyway and issue an emergency proclamation on youth access, for example, and make temporary rules. Or he's going to have the agencies say publicly that they don't have the existing statutory authority to do what he wants. And that's because Dan Patrick didn't pass those bills in 19, 21, 23, or 25 when he could have. Mm-hmm. And if I were him, and Dan was annoying me as my number 2 guy, theoretically, but really a potentate of massive authority within the Republican Party and complete control of the Senate, I might take the opportunity to take him down a peg. And I think that might be what this is doing.
Yeah. Well, this is I think it's a win we got out of this with the help of the governor. As Carrie mentioned earlier, as goes Texas, so does the U.S. And a lot of these other states, North Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, Florida's Governor DeSantis took a stand, Carrie, about a year ago, that last November, kind of keeping big marijuana away from hemp. The measure that was there on the ballot didn't have enough votes to pass there. I thought that showed some strong leadership by Governor DeSantis to support our industry. I think Abbott has looked favorably in this light, given the recent session as well. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned when I was in D.C., a lot of folks had recognized what Abbott had done. There's polling data from 4 or 5 different pollsters throughout both first session and the subsequent 2 sessions that all showed how popular this industry product category was from a political standpoint. And so in our handouts and our DC meetings, we had the polling numbers in Texas. I think it was 80% in favor of keeping hemp legal and regulated. And so, it's a real political win in Texas and nationally when you support this industry. We've seen it both in conservative and liberal states. And as you pop up here, we continue to see trends across the country that favor legalization, either via a regulatory model on hemp products like we see mostly in the southern states, or outright legalization of marijuana, either medical or recreational, in some of the northern states. And so, yes, it's an easy win in a way for the governor to veto the outright ban and instead implement age gating. And as he mentioned on the EO, that it was because of the lack of the legislature doing anything. Quite strong words, honestly, for an executive order. If anyone reads it, the first half kind of just tells a story of how we got here. It says, whereas the legislature failed to implement any age restrictions on these products or something to that effect. And that's quite a strong statement. As Jay mentioned earlier, this is a man who is truly dedicated to the letter of the law. And that video of Dan Patrick in the shop, and I think it's it cracks me up every time he gets his ID check there. So yes, it's a win politically for Abbott, and hopefully through rulemaking we can get some guardrails in place that the industry's been asking for, and let these businesses thrive.
Yeah, the governor made an announcement the week before last saying they asked if he was going to have a third special session. Now, I was in conversation in the WhatsApp groups and here in Texas. There's industry members. There's threads that go on. And, a lot of people were concerned, would there be a third special session just to focus on him? And my thought all along was, that ain't happening. They're not going to do another session just to tackle the hemp issue. But when asked about it 2 weeks ago, Abbott kind of had a wink in his eye there and said, no, but there's something coming on that. So he clearly made the wink, I think, Jay, that he was making was crediting to his executive orders that he rolled out the following week. You want to take take that and run with it a little, Jay, just because media members did ask about a third session on hemp, and I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think the issue was strong enough to get the lawmakers back. That wasn't going anywhere, as both of you know. But governor did roll out the old executive pin on media members, and that was his response. Jay Maguire, your thoughts?
He absolutely could. I don't know why he would want to, except to put the same items on the call for the hemp industry and just say, do this. And if you don't, then I'm going to do it to you again. It makes not very much political sense, except if you want to hang Dan Patrick on the results of not age gating and of not having some kind of regulations. And we have had problems. Patrick has been ringing the bell on Reefer Madness, this confabulation of different kinds of illnesses that they're calling cannabis-induced psychosis. Yeah, I've talked to some of those moms. Some of it's, a legitimate medical problem. Some of it is spin. And he might be caught up in his own spin if he doesn't act to take care of the problems that he is talking about. And we've reported on this extensively. So, yeah, I could see the case to be made, but I could also say, agencies, he's also told the agencies to study these issues as part of the GA56. The legislature has interim studies when we're not in session, and committees undertake, to examine things. A real study is balanced and based on facts. A Dan Patrick study is based on cereal bites and optics. If we got real information, I think the legislature would appreciate knowing the difference between Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10. I think they'd appreciate understanding why milligrams don't really count or work. I've been asked by various members to give them briefings. This is a golden opportunity for the governor to set the authoritative record straight. And so I think he waits until 2027 in the regular session where they come with the results of the executive branch study on. That's what I think happens.
You still got this was a victory nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. Our goal as a company is to end up in HEB and to end up in mainstream channels.
Mm-hmm.
And, we don't get into Buc-ee's without some sort of regulatory channel opened. And so, our distributors and retailers were, especially the big players, kind of holding out and waiting to see what happened in both sessions, especially when you carry 100 items that do billions of dollars in revenue. This little issue of hemp was maybe something they checked in on from time to time, but weren't really ready to jump into until they understood clear guardrails in place. And so now as rulemaking happens, as hopefully some enforcement steps up to eradicate bad actors, we're hopeful that opens up more mainstream retail channels, both in Texas and nationally, to allow us to sell our products to responsible adults.
Listen, thank you so much for being on the show. Fire off the website. Tell folks what you guys got cooking for the upcoming rest of the holiday season. We get into the fall. Are we going to expect a small batch of fall Oktoberfest anything from our friends at Bio City? What do you guys got cooking this fall?
I'll leave the product tasting for our production team. But yes, siphowdy.com is definitely the place to go to. We've got a new half and half lemonade and kind of an Arnold Palmer-like drink that's been flying off the shelves. And also our Howdy Hooch is like Fireball, and it comes in the big 70 mLs. And so,
Howdy Hooch. I love it.
So if you're about to head to an Austin tailgate to watch some Texas football, some Howdy Hooch there in your back pocket wouldn't be a bad idea.
Kerry Hinkle, Bio City Hip, thank you so much, sir. Jay Maguire, fire off the website, joincraft.org. Carl can pull that up or maybe share that, but Join Craft, here's your the website with you and your team, joincraft.org. Again, Cannabis Retailers Alliance for Texans. And tell us how folks can benefit by joining your organization and hiring your team, Jay.
You're not hiring our team. You're sending your employees to get certified training so that they are saying exactly what the product can and cannot be said to do, and not run afoul of Reefer Madness style law enforcement like Steve Dye and Lieutenant Governor Patrick have engaged in the last year. Many of the warrants issued in these cases had to do with employees saying dumb things. That's just one aspect of what Kraft is going to do. My business partner, Rhiannon Yard, is a brilliant woman who likes to write SOPs and manuals for fun. She's a nerd just like me, debate nerd. And I guarantee you, it's not boring to us. We're going to be watching these little nitty-gritty things. Y'all sign up for Kraft and come and see what we can do for you. We will be verifying brands on blockchain-enabled COA tracers, and it's going to revolutionize the industry.
Guys, great show. Thank you both for being on here with us. Podcast 232 wraps up this week. Kerry Hinkle with Bayou City Hemp. Great having you on talking policy. Hopefully you straightened out some of us and we learned about the minibus, the big bus, and the school bus. That was funny. A couple of shows ago that you were on, we had that School of Rock theme thing we played where we learned how a bill gets passed, kind of reminiscent of my years watching growing up on Sesame Street like so many of us did. But thank you for clarifying and giving some great information to our fellow Texans, both of you. We salute you both, gentlemen. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
You got it.
All right, there they go. Thank you both, guys. Good stuff, man. Those are two good buddies of ours, and we respect them dearly. Blazed Fest coming in October 25th, guys. We're finalizing our venue on this, but we do have Micah Shalom scheduled with Dub Eckies and Amplified Heat, and we're looking for some sponsors for our event. If you want to get involved, give us an email down here and below, blazed@blazenews.com. And this is on our website, top right corner, Blaze Fest. We're going to be doing this this fall, and it might be at Shiner Saloon. I'm probably not supposed to say that. We just got to confirm a few more things with that team and make sure we can do that with them. But great show, guys. Like, share, follow. We appreciate the support of the channel, and look for us on the Growers podcast with Colton Luther this weekend as well. And if you like the show this week, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about policy and what do you think about this GA56. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And stay tuned. Next week on the podcast, we will have Nick Molitero on, as well as Mark Bordas from the Texas Hemp Business Council. So we're going to keep this kind of thing going as we continue to see where the rulemaking process develops here in the coming weeks. But in the meantime, enjoy the football, enjoy the cannabis, and stay bold and stay blazed. Blazed Weekly News.